Human beings as we know it have always enjoyed going fast. There's actually carvings on cave walls of cavemen driving around turbo Hayabusas and LS swap Miatas, but those same humans also like to be comfortable, and sometimes through all of our massive stupidity, one of those human beings will actually come up with a pretty good idea. Well, say hello to Saab, a company from the country of Sweden who created a cult following and then fell off the face of the earth. Hello everyone, my name is Mark Roden, and you're watching the deep dive on Saab. Imagine this, it's the year 1945 and America had just dropped an absolute stinker on Nagasaki. I can't say that word on YouTube, but we all know what I'm talking about. And just one short month later, Japan would surrender. This is now the time of your freaking life. People are celebrating. The war is finally over and all is well again, right? Wrong, buddy, because you own a company called Saab AB, and what do you do at Saab AB? Oh, I don't know, maybe build airplanes capable of mass destruction, and now that these pesky little politicians aren't sending their own people away to do their dirty work for them, you have a problem on your hands. You're not going to be able to sell warplanes to somebody who doesn't need warplanes, so what do you do next? Well, you take your incredible engineering to the streets, because people need cars with airplane parts on them. In 1949, Saab would launch their first car ever available for purchase, called the Saab 92. It was small, weird looking, had a freaking dirt bike engine in it, and it was only available in green, and it actually sold pretty well as well. While the Saab 92 wasn't something super influential or quick or anything like that, it for sure was a start. Saab had successfully transformed from an airplane company into a car company, and so far, they were doing pretty good. A little while later, in 1955, Saab would revise the 92 and make some much needed changes to it and introduce us to the Saab 93. This one was even cooler now and performed a little bit better, but Saab was getting a taste of the automotive world and they wanted to go all out, buddy. So just 1 year later, in 1956, they released the Sonnet sports car, which was just such a baller piece of machinery. And due to this new sports car being offered by a relatively new brand, people had their eye on these Swedish people and were excited to see what they would do next. And exactly what they did next really put the nail in the coffin. Between the span of 1956 and 1968, they introduced a couple of pretty cool little cars, but none that really grabbed the public's attention. Until in 1968, they released the Saab 99. This Saab 99 was marketed as a car that was reliable, luxurious, and good-looking, which is a combo that car makers still can't reach to this day. And it did well. The public finally started buying these cars, and they were brought to the big leagues. This car had tons of features on it that normal cars didn't have, and most of them were catered towards us, the car buyers, and not towards them and saving money. The most popular little quirk that this car had was the fact the ignition was between the front seats instead of next to the steering wheel, because they said they didn't want people banging up their precious little kneecaps if they get into an accident. Which, if you don't think that's some mighty fine engineering from Saab, then personally I don't know what is, buddy. Like, what do you want? You want them to turn the engine around? You want to turn the engine around? Well, you're in luck, buddy, because they did that too. This time, it was so that you had more space in the cabin in a pretty small car that could desperately use all the cabin space it could get. This new Saab 99 was a hit, and people were not only buying Saabs, but talking about them finally. And so they just kept working to make their cars better. Saab realized the potential that the Saab 99 had when bringing it to the masses, but they also realized they needed to improve on this platform and even make us speed demons happy. So, 10 years later, in 1978, they would bring the biggest change to Saab they would ever have, the introduction of the turbocharger. Within those 10 years, yes, Saab did make a couple of new cars, but once again, none really had the impact that the Saab 99 did. So for the sake of not making this video an hour long, we are going to skip over those smaller Saabs and talk about what really made this company so damn prominent. Anyways, back to the 99 Turbo. This car was cool as all hell, but the reason it's so impactful is because of what Saab was using it for. Because no, Saab did not make this car to sell to a bunch of people. They made it to see how well it would perform, not only on the racetrack, but at the dealerships as well for the next upcoming model, the Saab 900. The Saab 900 is the car that everybody thinks about when they think of Saab. It is their flagship car, their golden ticket, their poster boy, whatever you want to call it, it is Saab. It was based on the 99 platform since it did so well, but somehow they made it even safer. God bless those Swedes, man, they make some incredibly safe cars. But they also completely redesigned the body to give this thing, to give it that classic, like, hunchback, that's the best word I can use to describe it, look that it has. And even though it was a consumer car, they did not make this thing look boring. No siree. They gave it a very well rounded off rear end, but a tight and sharp front end, almost to give it that business in the front, casual in the back look. They also lowered the headlights and taillights a little bit to make it more aggressive looking, and they gave it 5 freaking seats, because even though this car did look like a sports car, it was meant to do it all, buddy. But the biggest thing on the 900 would of course be the turbo. Saab had realized how good the 99 was with a turbo, and they had decided they were going to make all of their cars with a turbo now, because why wouldn't you? I mean, if there's a turbo sitting on a desk and a car without a turbo on it, what are you gonna do? This new Saab was not only practical as all hell, but it was fast too. It managed to make a 150 horsepower coming out of a 2-liter turbo inline 4, and over the years they bumped that number all the way up to 185 horsepower, which sure, you can look at nowadays and say that it's not quick, but back in the 80s, the damn Nissan Z car of the 80s was only making 200 horsepower, so that is very decent to say the least. So, Saab had made the 900 a car for the people. It was still affordable, still reliable, still practical, but now it was fast too. So it's an absolute no-brainer that this would become Saab's best-selling model ever. And when I say best-selling, I mean best-selling. At the end of the run for the 900, they ended up selling a massive 908,000 models in America alone. That's pretty nuts for the 1900s, guys. But once again, Saab wanted to continue to do better, and they kind of did, but kind of didn't, because in 1989, just 10 years after the release of the 900, General Motors would purchase 50% of Saab for a freaking ridiculous $600 million. Depending on who you ask, some people will say that this is what truly killed Saab. Some will say that this was a great deal for them. I personally think that this helped them out a ton, because in 1997, they would release the Saab 9.5. The 9.5 was the next version of Saab's reign on the reliable daily driver world, and it blew the competition out of the water on paper. It was listed as the safest car in the world by multiple insurance companies, and its reliability would hold up to that too. But it wasn't that fast. 1 year later, in 1998, they would also release the Saab 9.3. This was pretty much the same as the Saab 9.5 that we talked about earlier, except this one was a bit smaller and more affordable, which in turn made it the more popular choice for consumers. But as we all can obviously tell, Saab likes to go fast, so they released the Saab 9.3 Viggen, a car that was named after a freaking fighter jet. The 9.3 Viggen would become Saab's fastest model yet. It made a very nice 230 horsepower in a 2.3-liter turbocharged inline 4. This number is very impressive, don't get me wrong, but sadly, Saab was going after the wrong crowd. They wanted this 9.3 Viggen to be able to compete with the very successful BMW M3 or Audi S4 of the time, and to come after names like that, they had to bring out the big guns, and sadly, Saab decided it was time to play Nerf. The Viggen is by no means a slow car, it just wasn't as fast as their main competition, meaning that most people looking to buy a European sports sedan just went with the M3 or S4. This would be soul-crushing news to Saab, and they just couldn't hold out anymore, so they ended up selling the rest of the company to GM, meaning the incredible engineers behind some of the world's most insane but helpful designs were not in control anymore, and GM had full control. What GM did to Saab is 100% the reason why they died off. Instead of making these insane new advancements in the automotive world, they would literally just take other GM products and rebadge it with Saab, which obviously is not a very Saab thing to do. At one point, they did rebadge a Subaru WRX hatch, and they called it the 92X Aero, which yes, is a very cool car with an even cooler nickname called the Saabaroo nowadays, which I mean, come on, that's a cool nickname to have, but sadly, the 92X Aero wasn't cool enough and sales were falling incredibly hard, especially since this is now 2008 and something called the stock market crash had just happened. Paired with the fact that GM was struggling in sales and Saab was now rebadged versions of much more popular cars, GM ended up selling the company to a different company that specializes in electric vehicles in 2008. This new company plans on bringing the Saab design back but making it fully electric, which they've been saying for years now and has never actually happened. So even though it is sad, I think it's very unlikely for Saab to ever make a comeback, and if they do, it'll probably never be as special as the cars that garnished a cult following based off of not being the fastest company out there, but by being the company that cared the most about their consumers. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment another video you'd like to see down below, and subscribe to the channel for more. This is another deep dive video, this time on the Saab. Next time I think it's going to be on the Mitsubishi Evo, and then I'm probably going to do it on the Lexus LS400, because I like those cars. I kind of want to do it on that. But anyway, let me know what other cars you want to see on the deep dive stuff. Oh, also, every Wednesday from now on, it's going to... excuse me. God, I'm dying. Every Wednesday from now on, it's going to be like a Mark's life update, kind of like a vlog, I guess. I'll talk to you guys, ask you guys questions about just general life. From now on, I've decided that's what I want to do with the Wednesdays. So I hope you guys are excited for that. This Wednesday, we're going to be talking about my next car, because I want to get another car, and we'll talk about it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.